Welcome back to One Sober to Another. I'm Wayne. In this video, we're talking about Step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous. No. Don't go anywhere yet. Because this is about the work you have to do in order to repair some of the damages you've done in your active addiction or alcoholism, or rebuild some of the bridges that you broke along the way. Are you ready to go? Let's get it. We are doing a podcast as well as a YouTube video. What does Step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous have to do with you, and how can you improve the way that you approach things in your daily life and to improve the way you interact with people? Well, Step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous is made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. What does that mean to you? Let that sit for just a moment, because I've steered away from talking about Alcoholics Anonymous in my videos recently, and it's not because I forgot about it or I'm not practicing my own program. It is because a lot of folks get wrapped around the axle about Alcoholics Anonymous and the whole statute that is built around that, so to speak, in culture. Through ages, and since 1935 when Alcoholics Anonymous was formed. Now, if I'm saying that too much and you're getting distracted, don't worry, folks. The meat and potatoes is coming up. But if you get wrapped around that axle and get stuck in the institution of Alcoholics Anonymous, now some folks would argue there is no institution because it's not governed. That is true. However, a lot of folks associate Alcoholics Anonymous with you having to admit you're powerless. Well, guess what? I was powerless over the amount of alcohol I consumed, and I was powerless over the things that happened. During my drunken blackouts and during my decades of insanity with my alcoholism, I ruined a lot of lives, and I damaged a lot of emotional states of people, and I lowered a lot of people's self-esteem, and I cheated a lot of folks. I stole from a lot of people, and it's not because I'm a bad person. It's because when I was drunk and when I was in my alcoholic state of insanity, I went to any lengths to get drunk, and I went to any lengths to ensure that I would be able to get drunk the next day or the next hour or the next minute, wherever that would have taken me. And in the process, I was a whirlwind of destruction. And here in Step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous, I had made a list of all the people I had harmed, and I did become willing to make amends. And there's a reason why it says became willing. So where does that go? That goes to this. In Step 4 of Alcoholics Anonymous, and if you're not familiar with it, the link is below for AA.org, and you can look at the 12 steps and 12 traditions yourself and see where they fit within your life, regardless if you work the 12-step recovery program of Alcoholics Anonymous or not. So in Step 4, right, I had to make a fearless, meaning I had to not hold any punches back, moral inventory of myself. I had to go back and I had to look at situations and be able to identify places where I was at fault through my drinking or through my actions, and build a list of it identifies the things and people I harmed with my alcoholism or through my drinking or the behavior that occurred when I got drunk. In Step 5, and I'm not going to go all the way through this, but in Step 5, I had to sit down with another person. Now, I don't have to, there's no obligation, but there's a whole process and a flow of sequence that allows you to be able to progress within a program of recovery. And this is what I did. I mean, it's not necessarily what you're doing, but it's what I did. So in Step 5, I had to actually sit down and do this with a person you trust, by the way, if you decide to do it, and tell them exactly, without censorship and without holding things back, where I was wrong and how I had harmed people. Now, that's a tough thing to do, and that's a tough action to commit yourself to, because that's a lot of exposure and that's a lot of putting yourself out there without a fear of judgment in order for you to get everything out on the table and see it for what it is from another person's perspective. Does that make sense? If it does, folks, you know what to do by now. Give me a like and or follow or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Folks, I'm gonna tell you a quick tangent. I sincerely want to thank everybody who has subscribed to the channel. And there are so many folks out there that I've made connections with. And this is where actually, step 8 and step 9 come into play, is that I have built relationships through honesty and through trust that I had never had in my drunken history and in my 23 years of insanity through my alcoholism. I wouldn't trade that for the world, folks. Now, boom, step 8, right? Made a list of all people I had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Once I developed my step 4 and once I worked through those exact moments where I had harmed people, right? I was able to formulate that list. And in step 8 and in 6 and 7, we'll come back to at some other point in time. But in step 8, I actually wrote down on a list on a piece of paper of all the people that I could remember that I harmed through my alcoholism or through the behavior in my drinking. There are some folks that I was not able to actually make amends with, and that was either because they died, that was either because the situation that occurred with those people was so damaging and so profound that I couldn't bring myself to actually do it. Now, is that hindering my recovery? Maybe a little bit. One of the ones that I had the largest problems with was my father. Now, he was an alcoholic himself, and I'm gonna keep this short because this is a whole nother ballgame and a whole nother story that you're probably not interested in. But he was an alcoholic and he had come home drunk all the time. And matter of fact, there were things that happened in his drinking history that I can't really speak for because I personally can't do anybody's inventory. But there was a lot of things that happened with that relationship, and we were so damaged that the way that I was able to, and this goes into step 9, make direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would cause harm. I had to actually write a letter out and then pretty much sign off on that whole part of the history and say, I'm done with this. I forgive him, and I hope he forgives me for what we have done to each other through both of our drinking habits and both of our drinking careers, and let it go. That's what I had to do with that. Other things as simple as creditors, right? The way that I am willing to make amends with creditors is to actually pay my debts out, as dumb as that sounds, and to pay them timely, and to make restitution where it's possible. Because I drank a few cars, I rolled a few cars, I had loans beyond belief, I had no money in the bank, and I had to make amends with the people that I stole from, and on and on and on. I'm gonna just read this real quick, and I'm only gonna read the first 2 paragraphs of step 8. That way you have an idea of where it actually leads and how it develops for you if you decide to make a list of the people that you harmed in your drinking or your using or your gambling or whatever your addiction is, and became willing to make amends to them. All right, here we go. Step 8 and 9 are concerned with personal relationships, or steps 8 and steps 9 are concerned with personal relations. First, we take a look backward and try to discover where we had been at fault. And that goes back into the step 4 and everything else. Next, we make a vigorous attempt to repair the damage we have done. That doesn't mean you make one phone call, they don't answer, you hang up and never call back and say, well, I tried. You make a vigorous attempt, folks. And third, having thus cleaned away the debris of the past, we consider how, with our newfound knowledge of ourselves, we may develop the best possible relations with every human being we know. So now that you have made this list and became willing to make amends to people, right, for the things that you did, you have a way forward in dealing with any future conflict or any transgression that you commit against somebody else. And that goes into step 10, that you can use in the future in your life, regardless if you're working a 12-step program or not, regardless if you're involved in Alcoholics Anonymous or not. The 12 steps and 12 traditions of AA are far more useful in everyday life than you can ever imagine. So if you work a 12-step program or not, the principles and the way that is developed can work within your life with any problem that you might have. And if you don't believe me, try it out. Just give it a shot and tell me what you think in the comments below. And if you do use any of the 12 steps in your life and you find it useful, throw that out there too, because someone else is thinking that they're alone and that they don't have a way out of either problem solving, alcoholism, addiction, gambling, a sex addiction, whatever, drinking hand sanitizer. It's all applicable within someone's daily life. Try it out. Tell me what you think in the comments, and tell me what you think, because when you put it in the comments, like I said, someone else is going to see that. So the last paragraph that I'm going to read is for you to digest and you to tell me what you think. This is a very large order. It is a task which we may perform with increasing skill, but never really finish. Learning how to live in the greatest peace, partnership, and brotherhood with all men and women of whatever description is a moving and fascinating adventure. Folks, what this says, if you take this method, if you take this making a list of people you have harmed and become willing to make amends with them, build from that and be able to use that same philosophy or same method in future problems that you might have with people, you are able to build upon that skill and work it in a second nature that is almost instantaneous to your way of dealing with a problem, to your way of dealing with conflict at work, conflict at home, conflict with your spouse or whatever. And if you're able to build upon it, you will be amazed the relationships you're able to build with people, regardless of where they come from, who they believe in, what they practice, what their culture is, if they're black, they're white, they're brown, they're yellow, it doesn't matter. You are able to build relationships better with people as you develop these skills. Folks, life's a garden. I want to know what you think about Step 8 of Alcoholics Anonymous in the comments below. And there are many helpful links that I always put in every description of my video for you guys out there, regardless if you are part of AA or not, regardless if you work a 12-step program or not, and if you suffer from PTSD, if you have suicidal ideology, if you're a teenager in trouble, there are links below to help you in your daily life, because that's what this channel is all about, folks. I always get emotional about this because it's something that I believe in, being helpful to other human beings. And folks, the world would be a better place if we all step up and just give a little motivation and sprinkle that upon the people that we're around, and they can spread it around. Also, if you've gotten any value out of this video, consider subscribing to the channel, folks. Josh G, I'm gonna holler at you later, man. I didn't forget. I'm just working my butt off. What will be, my heart's always with you. Steve, John, all of you guys out there. Tim G, I didn't forget about you. Alex, even. I didn't forget about you either. AK, Free Your Ghost. You changed your name, but that's cool. As far as your handle, I didn't forget about you either. Dinah Armstrong, Dinah Strong. I didn't forget about you. I don't forget about anybody who I interact on this channel. And I hope you guys have a good day. Life is a garden, dig it. And guess what? I'm gonna see you in the next one. Have a great day.